Thank you
She
so
has a
for.
flight to catch, I think. So she,
So I'm just
yeah, she's.
getting intruder in your session, sir.
No,
And
no,
Dr. Shailesh Chotala is just about to come. He's the
doesn't matter. You
chairperson.
can go
Yes.
ahead. Yeah, go
Thank
ahead.
you, sir, for the invite. And at the outset, I would like to thank the organizing committee and Dr. Bansi Sabu, sir, Amit Gupta, and all the dignitaries who have had me on the stage. And I shall be presenting on limiting diabetic foot infection progression, practice essential and guideline based approach. So. So we know that in the Asian and the Indian setups, there are overcrowded OPDs with lot of doctors who may not be even trained to look after the feet and the nursing staff and the other members. And also there is a poor podiatry infrastructure. People are not aware about it. In such a condition, the basic foot examination may be missed in a diabetic. Even the examination of the diabetes may be missed in such overcrowded OPD which are not planned. And hallmark of diabetic foot in India is that you see that patients have red ants and the maggots swimming out of the dirty dressings and with very foul smelling wound on which the patient keep on walking and neglecting them. And the barefoot for walking is rampant because of the socio-cultural and the religious practices, and they apply all sorts of home remedies including whatever they possible they can eat, that is applied on the wound to take care of that. So out of along about when you see a diabetic patient, one fourth of them, like 15 to 25% lifetime risk of developing a diabetic foot infections, and half of the diabetic foot ulcers, they may be infected at the outset when you see them first. That means half of them are uninfected also, that also you should remember. And one fourth of these infected, sorry, one sixth to one seventh of these infected diabetic feet may suffer amputation, minor or major or any other. And out of these amputees, the major mortality to 60 to 70% is seen in these cases. So that is very very important. And the most important thing is all these infected cases, in all these infected cases, if they report timely, then we can save these amputations. So diabetic foot ulcers are definitely a challenge to treat, particularly when infected, and other comorbidities are there. And early recognition, prompt treatment initiation is very important. The presence of peripheral vascular disease and neuropathy and immunopathy and retinopathy further adds to the plight of these wounds. And the slow and non-healing wounds, they suffer higher risk of infections. So it is important that we regularly and identify them, regularly inspect them, and examining the at-risk feet. We should know what are they. The patients with plantar fissures, dorsal calluses or deformed toes, hammer toe, callus toe, overriding toes, presence of previous amputation scar, previous ulcer scar, web space infection, and infected nails. This presence of blisters, bullosa diabeticorum, abundant callus on the feet, particularly on the plantar surface, onychomycosis, deformed feet. So, the areas of foot at highest risk of ulceration are these deformed toes and the over the dorsum, as well as in between the toes, there will be development of callus, which is predisposed to the ulceration. So, for the infection, what could be the predisposing factors? So, any wound, diabetic foot ulcer, which is long standing, which is very deep, more than 5 mm, and recurrent breakdown or of traumatic etiology due to presence of deformities, presence of diabetic immunopathy, which worsens these perturbations, worsen the neutrophil functions, and concomitant end stage renal disease or chronic renal failure, history of chronic hyperglycemia and sudden onset hyperglycemia, which is at the presentation, which suggests the life threatening infections. So triopathy of the foot makes it actually vulnerable. Diabetic foot wounds are peculiar in that they may be stalled. That means they are arrest due to the excess inflammation or proteases or cytokines in the tissues. This prevents the wound contraction and epithelialization. And on top of that, the peculiar anatomy of the foot, where there may be many compartments, medial, lateral, and the central, which are bound by the rigid fascia and the bony compartments, which makes the edema. If any edema due to infection occurs, then the pressure builds up inside, and as a result, ischemic necrosis begins. That makes it the foot worse. Even in the presence of proximal palpable pulses, they may have a distal gangrene. So, unique structural anatomy predisposes to the end artery disease. And this is what happens. The infection of the toes may carry up to the leg because of the tendons getting inserted. They have their muscle bellies up there, and the constant act of walking on the neuropathic foot because they are painless foot. Then the infection of the we should keep a high index of suspicion. Any smaller wound on the toes may be carried up the leg. So diabetic foot ulcers, especially when they are infected, are a priority. They must be diagnosed to be infected because they will have no complaint, so no examination is done. So rapid assessment, and they should be referred to the specialist within 24 hours. One specialist should be able to see, and you can see the necrotizing fasciitis, the gangrene in the toes. These must be referred very early to the patients. And here lies the importance of a guideline-based approach like IWGDF and ITSA guideline 2023 have they guide us or they navigate the fate of the DFI, and we should be aware of this because they guide the healthcare professionals, help the help the foot salvage, and also they reduce the burden of diabetes related foot disease because we are very much aware and pick up the at-risk foot early. So diabetic foot infection is an inframellular infection defined by inflammatory signs. One of the out of the five cardinal signs, at least two must be present apart from the odor and the purulence. And if the foot is equivocal and we are not able to make out with the whether the signs of inflammation are present because they may be masked due to immunopathy, then in that case we should go for the serum biomarkers like CRP, ESR, PCT, which may be raised and which suggest the infections. Now, apart from this, the typical other features may be in an infected feet like pain, increase in exudate, skin and soft tissue edema, presence of blisters, cellulitis or spreading cellulitis, blisters, soft tissue and skin necrosis. Along with that, systemic signs and symptoms in the worst cases may be present. And foul odor, friable, discolored tissue in the wound, undermining of the wound edge may be seen in the wound bed. So that examination of the wound itself is very, very important. And poor granulation tissue and lot of built of callus or hypercallus margins, that all that should be looked into. So we should classify the diabetic foot ulcer, categorize those lesions for the presence of infection. And if more than one DFU is present, then we should assess them individually and check if there is any physical link or any sinus tracts which are present. Tissues should be the infected ulcer must be divided, and deep tissue must be put, is the most representative of the causative organism, and that must be picked up for culture, and which should be done by simple methods or the conventional methods rather than using the molecular techniques for assess for the microbiology. That should be kept in mind because they do not have any added advantage and they may not be available everywhere. So in a case of osteomyelitis, how do you pick up if the bone is infected, not only the soft tissue? Then we should, if any there is any sausage toe or is any bone, exposed bone or bone jutting out or necrosis is there, or any rough bone contact test or probe to bone test is positive, so breaking and recurrent breaking down, and then that we should it should raise a suspicion of osteomyelitis. And x-ray of the foot along with the probe to bone test and the serum inflammatory markers may or may not be necessary. So elevated ESR, x-ray of the foot and probe to bone test alone can diagnose in absence of any MRI or this thing. If you feel that there is a doubt, then you go for the investigation like MRI, PET scan or SPECT CT or fluorodeoxyglucose CTs. That all that can be done if you are otherwise bone biopsy itself is a gold standard. And while categorizing the lesion according to ITSA classification, we can see whether the foot is uninfected, mild, moderate or severe. And the potential indication for hospitalization mean when there is severe metabolic instability or severe infection, IV therapy, diagnostic test, severe foot ischemia, any surgical procedure has to be carried out, and complex dressings or dressing changes are required, and whether wound requires continuous monitoring or revascularization is necessary, we go for hospitalization. Just finishing, sir. So in limb threatening infections, if any necrosis or gangrene or air crepitus or hemorrhagic bulia etc are present, so overall a suspected DFSI patient, we not only assess the patient as a whole but also the wound. And once we are confirmed that in mild to mild cases, we just give them antibiotics even in early moderate cases, and we switch over to the IV antibiotics in case it is not responding or we feel the more severe or extensive infection is there. In severe infected cases or the patients of mild moderate infections who are not responding, then these patients are considered for hospitalization, and then the chain goes on. So it is the multidisciplinary approach which is essential for limb salvage and may prevent amputation by 49 to 85%. So it is important that we involve the infectious disease specialist or vascular surgeon or revascularization for revascularization very early in the course of the disease, because peripheral arterial disease present in 50% of these patients. And we do not recommend using adjunct therapy like GCSF, topical antibiotics, or antiseptic. They are of no use. Even VAC therapy, HBOT, topical or 203, which are very rampantly used, they have no alone indication that they can heal the wound or clear the infection. They may be used as adjunctive therapy as per the case. And we should, as I said, assessment of the foot by X-rays or neuropathy, peripheral vascular disease, all this should be done. And the X-rays may show foreign bodies. That possibility should be kept in mind, because that gives rise to severe systemic symptoms. And we already know, I should not be talking in front of the physicians that about the antibiotics, because they know it better. And they can be, antibiotics can be given initially oral and then IV in 2 to 4 weeks in moderate to severe infections. If bone margins are positive in an amputated patient, then we give them for 3 to 6 weeks, depending upon whether amputation has been performed or not. So, without surgery, only antibiotic treatments given forefoot osteomyelitis with no need of emergency surgery, no exposed bone, and no PAD. So, these are few cases I will like to show in few seconds. A neglected peronekia turning to toe amputation. So, we should, spark neglected burns the house. We should diagnose them early. High index of suspicion is very, very important.
I think
And we
please
should
finish.
explore the plantar
Yeah.
surface. Yes, sir, about
Oh,
to finish.
yeah.
Medial and lateral plantar space, you can see. And the urgent surgical consultation, if the toes are gangrene and pulses are palpable. So tip of the iceberg is that you see, but underneath destruction is lot. And revascularization should be done so as to give the favorable results. And heel ulcers can also be made to heal, as in the picture. Even severe calcaneal osteomyelitis, even without the need of HBOT, by debridement should be done. Offloading, good offloading can be done, as I will show you here. Non-surgical and surgical offloading can be tried, so as to that is a must for the to take off the elevated plantar pressure. To summarize, at-risk feet must be prioritized, and they should be seen within 24 hours. And a new DFU must be referred to MDFS within 24 hours. High index of suspicion is must. And most DFUs heal, only a quarter of them will need amputation. This is should be kept in the mind. Otherwise, it is not should not consider it synonymous with amputation. As soon as you see the foot, you should not say it will go for amputation. Most of them are going to heal. In intrafoot, amputation should be preferred. We should try to salvage the walkable heels so that patient can go to the toilet. Reconstructive surgery, we should do the revascularization first and assess the vascular status. Systematic evidence-based approach helps resolve difficult infection. That's why we go for the guideline-based approach. It saves the limb and avoids life-threatening complication. This is best provided by interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary teams. Thank you for the patient hearing. Care for your feet. The foot is a masterpiece of art and engineering. And before you enter the doctor, you should take off your shoes outside. Thank you, sir.